What is up, everybody? In this video, I will be ranking all of the dungeons in Final Fantasy VII from worst to best, starting from the first to the last dungeon in the game. So let's get right into this. So they will be ranked in the tiers, of course, and I might move some around as I go, just because, you know, first impressions are always not the best, but I do have a script, but, you know, I might change my mind as I start to talk about things. So yeah, anyway, let's get into this. So first we have got the No One Reactor, and that is going to be in the S tier. Honestly, this is one of the most iconic things in the whole Final Fantasy series. If you've watched my channel a lot, you know that Final Fantasy VII isn't like my favorite Final Fantasy game of all time, but it has one of the best openings for sure. Like, definitely. Like, nothing is more epic than that first sequence in which you get on like go with the avalanche and you go and you like try to blow up the reactor. It's so sick. One of the most memorable Final Fantasy sequences. And yeah, No One Reactor just really is one of the best. And No 5 Reactor is pretty decent. I'll put it in the B tier. It's kind of just definitely a rehash of the No One Reactor, and I get it because of the story that's trying to be told here. I mean, honestly, in terms of story, I feel like we should have blown up even more reactors, but it just doesn't hit the same the second time around. And I mean, I guess you have Tifa in your party, so that is pretty nice, I guess. It's still pretty fun. I will say No 5 Reactor, they did a really good job of making it different in Remake, but in this original game, it's not too different. All right, the Train Graveyard, I'm going to throw down in the C tier. C tier. It's fine, but there's nothing really interesting about it in this one. I might end up even putting it down in D, but in Final Fantasy VII, the original, there's just nothing really notable about the Train Graveyard. It's not nearly as good as like the Ship Graveyard in Final Fantasy V, and it's a bunch of trains, you climb up, down, and then boom, you're out of there. Like, it's a pretty short visit, and it's fine. Now, once I do my dungeon ranking for Remake, it's going to go up there because there's so much going on here. A little whole side story and stuff. But other than that, yeah, I think the Train Graveyard, nothing too special. All right, Shinra Building going right up to the top. Shinra Building in the original Final Fantasy VII is probably my favorite dungeon in the whole Final Fantasy series. I love everything about it. If you've watched some of my videos like why I like Final Fantasy VIII better than Final Fantasy VII and all that stuff, I always talk about how I love Shinra, I love when they're the villain, but when Sephiroth is the villain, this game isn't as interesting to me because I really like Shinra's story and this whole like government corruption thingy, and I really like that. And the Shinra Building is the peak of that story. I love that. I love how there's like a billion bosses here. I love how epic it is. I love how you can either climb up the stairs or go up the elevator. It's just such a fun place. Like, nothing is quite like it. The Shinra Building, one of my favorite RPG dungeons in general. And then we get the Mithril Mine, which will go in the E tier. It's like 2 screens long. It's good for grinding Eris's limit breaks. But other than that, it's pretty unremarkable. I guess the Turks show up, but yeah, it's nothing too special. All right, Mount Coral, I'm going to throw in the B tier. I think, wait, is this where... Wait, hold up. Mount Coral. I just don't want to get confused with Mount Coral and Mount Nibel, whatever you want to say. This is not... Okay, that's what I thought. This is what I thought. Sorry, they're both mountains, and I didn't want to get confused because one of them is amazing, but it's not this one. Anyway, sorry about that. Yeah, Mount Coral will go right there. I do like the style with like the railroad tracks and all that stuff, and it's nice. It's cool. It's definitely a cooler looking area. But actually, you know, I'm gonna throw it above that. In terms of this game, I might end up moving it up to A tier because I really love the aesthetic. I like going around the railroad tracks and all that stuff, but it's nothing too notable. It's kind of just a not filler dungeon, but like getting from one town to the next town, and that's how we have to do it. It's not like we're visiting here for some very specific awesome reason or anything. So yeah. All right, the Coral Prison. I'm going to the S tier. I love the story. The big reason why this is such a great dungeon to me is because Barrett's story with Dine and all that stuff. It's just so good. Like, it's awesome little side story, and it's very memorable. And I mean, I like anytime you're in a prison, honestly, in a game, and you have to break out. Like, that's always fun to me. So yeah, I think Coral Prison is definitely one of the better dungeons in the game. All right, Shinra Mansion, I'm gonna throw up in the A tier. I think it's really cool. We get Vincent in our party. We get that jazz. And it's a cool area where, like, there's a hard boss fight for early in the game. You gotta, like, you get these combination locks or whatever. And it's also cool in terms of story when you visit there in the calm flashback sequence where you get it's the iconic place where Sephiroth, like, the flames go up and all that stuff. I think it's really good. I do think it could have been better, but I will still put it in the A tier. I think it's pretty good. All right, next we've got Cave of the Gi, which I'll also throw up in the A tier, but below Shinra Mansion. And Cave of the Gi, the big part here, again, it's Red 13's story. However, Coral Prison, you're also breaking out of prison while having a cool story. Well, this one's mostly just having a cool story. So Cave of the Gi is not absolute best, but it is a pretty emotional sequence near the end of the dungeon, and I will have to say that it's an A tier for that. All right, Mount Nibel, whatever the frick you want to call it. Actually, I'm going to move up No One Reactor to S+ for now and put Mount Nibel at the top of S. In terms of story, it's like the best dungeon in the game. Like, you get the insane flashbacks with all the stuff. I'm not going to spoil it in case you, I guess, haven't played Final Fantasy VII and you're watching this video for some reason. But you get so many good flashbacks at this dungeon, and it's just fantastic. Like, so much going on here. It's crazy. All right, Temple of the Ancients. There's some cool puzzles, a couple good bosses, all that stuff. I'm going to throw it in the top of A tier. It is a little annoying at times, but it is mysterious. It's like labyrinthian. It has some great bosses and some great story beats. So I'll put it in the A tier. I think it's pretty good. You know, actually, I think I like it better than Coral Prison, so I'll put it in the S tier. Really, in terms of story and boss fights, and it just has such an atmosphere about it. So yeah, I'll put it in S tier. Coral Valley Cave is an easy F. If you remember this place, good on you. I only remember it because it was on the wiki page for Final Fantasy VII Dungeons, and I looked at it and I was like, oh yeah, that's the worst dungeon in the game. So yep, there's that. Yeah. All right, next we got the Great Glacier, which I'm going to put in the D tier. Sorry if you like the Great Glacier, but this whole part of the game is the biggest slog ever. Like, after insane story beats, after all the craziness that goes down at the end of Disc 1, we start Disc 2, and it's just a stupid pace breaker where we're here and you're just spending hours going through this stupid glacier, and there's no reason that it needs to be in the game, like, whatsoever. Like, it breaks the pace of the game so awfully, and it just sucks. The only reason I have it above, I hate it more than these two, but at least they tried to make an actual dungeon here. So, I mean, it's just annoying. Gaia's Cliff is slightly annoying, but it's also not too bad. I'll throw it in C tier. I can't even say I like it better than the Train Graveyard, but it's fine. I don't hate it. I like the Shizo boss fight. I like the climbing, and I like some of the hard enemies you have to fight. I think you fight Malboros here, if I remember correctly. If you don't, I'm just an idiot, but that's my recollection. Something like that, or some enemy that uses some crazy status effects or something. I remember that. But anyway, Gaia's Cliff is nice, but again, it's not as bad as Great Glacier because you're not getting lost, but it still does feel like quite the pace breaker. So yeah, the Whirlwind Maze is a really cool looking area. Oh, this one's hard because it's like a couple screens. It's really cool. It's nice in terms of the story and all that. But at the end of the day, I just feel like I can't really say anything too good about it. I'm going to put it in... I like that you get a summon here. I like some of that stuff, but as cool as it is, I'm probably going to have to put it in D tier. I'd say it's a below average Final Fantasy VII Dungeon. As much as I hate to say it, it's got a cool aesthetic and all that, but it really, really is not that good. So, yeah. All right, next we've got the Underwater Reactor, which I will put... right here. I think it's pretty good. I like the idea of there being an underwater reactor and all that stuff, but I feel like there could have been some games definitely do like an underwater reactor so much better, like Final Fantasy VIII, Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon. There's just a lot of examples of like cool underwater reactor type dungeons, and this is not one of those. I mean, it's fine. It does what it sets out to do adequately, but not like it could have been so much cooler. So that's my issue with it. I haven't played FF7 Rebirth yet. No, sorry. I am so stupid. That's not that's not what I meant to say. I have not played FF7 Part 3 yet, but once we get there, I'm hoping they spice up the underwater reactor a little bit more, because that has potential, I think, to be a pretty dang good place. Okay. Midgar. So when I say Midgar, I mean when you go back and you fight the Turks and Hojo and all that stuff. And this is one of my favorite sequences in any Final Fantasy game as well, and I will throw it all the way up in second place on this list. It's amazing. Midgar is definitely my favorite part of Final Fantasy VII, like by far. Like that's why I loved that remake was only set in Midgar. It made me so happy. Because all that Shinra stuff matters so much more to me than Sephiroth summoning a meteor and ending the world, because frankly, that's not unique. Shinra is a lot more unique than Sephiroth, in my opinion, but hopefully that doesn't give me too much backlash, but I'm sure it will, but you know what, that's okay with me, honestly. But anyway, Midgar, it's just so cool, and this whole sequence, there's a ton of boss fights, so much good stuff here, really cool. Alright, the Ancient Forest, I'm going to move this right here, actually, and move this up to B tier, and then I'll throw the Ancient Forest right there. Yeah, Ancient Forest is a little optional dungeon with some different treasure chests and stuff. It's kind of like the Sunken Cave in Final Fantasy III, though, where it's just like, yeah, it's here, you get some bonus stuff, but is there really any substance to it? Not really. So, there's my TED Talk on that. Next, actually, I'm going to move the Train Graveyard back to C. It got its one moment in B for a little bit there. And then I will move Mount Coral down to B. And I will move the Sunken Gelnika up here. It's another bonus dungeon, but I just like the idea of a sunken submarine where you go fight the Turks and stuff. A lot more than some dang forest. I mean, there's literally, I can think of multiple dungeons in other games that are called Ancient Forest and are better than Final Fantasy VII's Ancient Forest. Blue Dragon especially. But anyway, Sunken Gelnika is fine. It's all right. It's cool, and it's a nice little submarine place, and yeah, I like that. So yeah. Also, this kind of looks like a cleaver at this point, so that's kind of cool, actually. Usually it's more of like a bell curve thingy, but we've got like a little cleaver going on here, and I guess that's pretty good. Shows that there's a lot of good dungeons here instead of like, wee, and then nothing up here. But yeah, I think that the Sunken Gelnika, and Gelnika, I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce that, to be honest, but I think that is a pretty dang alright dungeon. Yeah. Okay, the Northern Cave. Infamously, one of my least favorite final dungeons in the video game. Well, okay, no, maybe not in a video game, in a Final Fantasy game. It's so... No final dungeon should have a name called Northern Cave. How uninspired do you have to get to literally have Northern Cave be the name of a dungeon? I'm sorry. At least call it like the Cave of the Life Stream or something. It would be so much. It would be so easy to come up with a better name than North. Okay, anyway. Other than its name, for the fact that it's like, I'd say the final boss fight, some of the materia you get and stuff, I'd still say it's an above average Final Fantasy VII dungeon, but most of the time the final dungeon easily sits on like one of the top 3 spots, and here it's not even close for me. I will put it Northern Cave. I'll put it right here in A. I think that's fair. We still got that cleaver look, kind of. More of a half of a Korok leaf at this point, especially with that color. But I really think that the Northern Cave just struggles to be a good Final Fantasy final dungeon. Like, it's alright, and I think the bosses are good, getting the materia is good, some of the cutscenes are good. I think the final cutscene in Final Fantasy VII is one of the most underwhelming in the series. Like, if you compare the final cutscene to 8, 9, 10, 5, 2 even. I like the cutscene in 2 better. Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is the greatest Final Dungeon. I mean, so many amazing, like, you think of earlier in the series, you've got Chaos Shrine, you've got Pandemonium, you've got the Crystal Tower, you've got the Lunar Subterrane, you've got the Interdimensional Rift, and you got Kefka's Tower. I don't like that one as much, but, and then you get the Northern Cave. Oh my goodness, what were they thinking? And then we go back to good stuff again. Ultimatia's Mansion, Memoria, Inside Sin. Well, FF11 has like a billion Final Dungeons. I mean, okay, I would still say I probably like the Northern Cave better than the Lair of the, what's it called? Death Lord, Dark, no, not Death Lord is from Final Fantasy Dimensions 2, the Dark Lord. Yeah, Final Fantasy, even Final Fantasy 12, no. Anyway, I'll do a Final Dungeon ranking. I don't know why I haven't done that yet, actually. That's kind of funny. But anyway, what I mean to say is the Northern Cave is pretty underwhelming as a Final Dungeon, but as a dungeon in general, it's actually pretty decent. So yeah, thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to smash that like button and that subscribe button and all that jazz. Tell me down below what other Final Fantasy VII videos, Final Fantasy RPG, whatever the crap you want me to make, even if it's not about an RPG. If you recommend it, I'll try to do it. So let me know down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching, and peace out. Thanks to my good man Chemo for being a patron. If you want tons of exclusive RPG content, join now as a patron today.